Welcome to Brand Together. We feel like the world needs community more than ever today, now. And we made the decision to create this thing called Brand Together so that we could have conversations with the people who are out there every day building communities. This is probably, I'm going to guess, our seventh or eighth conversation. And we're so thrilled to have our guest. We're going to introduce Rachel Wong from Monday Girl in just a minute. I'm going to just spend a tiny bit of time grounding us in who we are, what we're even doing here, and then we're going to ask a question of you all that we're going to ask for you to just pop into the chat. So, without further ado, I'm Michelle. It's so nice to see so many friendly faces and meet some of you. Myself and Krista, my co-host, we are the co-founders of Community Academy. Community Academy was built out of a deep passion for the belief that brands can grow through community building at their core, and that community is really a way to bring a brand's purpose to life and invite others into that. And we sort of saw a gap and also an opportunity. I don't know if anyone else works in marketing, but we started to see that as brands had sort of shifted quite heavily into performance marketing and like really sales and conversion driven tactics, that they started to realize that long term that wasn't going to do the trick. And so we wanted to build Community Academy as a place that folks can come in to buff up on their community building skills, and specifically with a lens of how to do it as a brand. What else? I already talked a little bit about Brand Together and why, but yeah, we do these conversations monthly, the second Thursday of every month. So tune in. Thanks for joining. I'll just do a quick little plug. So we kicked off recently our fall cohort of Community Academy, and there's still time to join. It's not too late. We got some folks representing here that are part of the cohort. And what Community Academy is, it's a six-week online self-paced course, but has a whole bunch of other really engaging components to it, including some workbook exercises that you're going through. We have proven tools and resources that Krista and myself and our partners have developed. And then our favorite part is our live group coaching that we do once a month with our cohort folks. So yeah, you can learn more at communityacademy.co. And we're always here if anyone just needs more information and wants to book a discovery call. Okay, I'm going to move us along. So like I said, I promised I'd give you all a chance to introduce yourselves. I'm seeing this beautiful screen full of wonderful faces. I'd love if in the chat you can just pop in there and say who you are. If you'd like, you can share where you're joining from. Whether or not if you're representing a brand or business, feel free to throw that in there. And then finally, our question for you is, what inspired you to join us today? So you can go ahead and just start popping that in the chat. And as you do that, I'm going to kick it over to Krista to introduce our lovely guest.
So nice to see you all. I'm going to introduce Rachel in a sec, and what I'll share, and forgive me if Michelle said this and I'm repeating her, but we're gonna get to know each other in the chat at the same time as I introduce Rachel, and then Michelle and I have some questions teed up for Rachel, and we're going to wrap those questions so that there's some time towards the end of the call for you all to pipe up and get curious. And so we'll hold space for dialogue and Q&A. And so as you are listening to the conversation, feel free to go ahead and capture any notes or questions so that when the time comes, you can feel free to speak up. And we'd love this to be as interactive as possible. The whole point of coming together live versus recording a podcast in our eyes. So look forward to that. And then I am so pleased that it's over a year ago now, and it might almost be 2 years that I was introduced to Rachel through a client of mine who's a good friend of Rachel's. And I think that led to Monday Girl leveraging and co offices here in Vancouver, where I work out of, as their sort of Vancouver satellite location for all of their in real life activations and events. And so through that, I've been super fortunate to experience some of what Monday Girl offers, because as a member of ANCO, I've been invited to participate. So it's been really cool to get to know a little bit about the vision and mission of Monday Girl and to have firsthand experience of these incredible offerings that attract some really awesome women to come together here in Vancouver. And I know that this happens all over Canada, and I think you're having quite a presence in the US as well. So we'll let Rachel speak to that um, as she does. But really what I wanted to share is that I've been really inspired by this work. I think the vision and purpose resonates deeply for me and for many other women. Um, Before Rachel co-founded Monday Girl, she played a role in launching, I think it's Uber Eats specifically. Yeah. And had some incredible experience there before going on to quit her day job, found and make Monday Girl a full-time opportunity. So nobody can speak to this better than Rachel herself. So I'll hand it over. And Mish, I think you've got some rapid fire questions so we can get to know her
I
better.
sure do. I'm going to th start throwing them at you, Rachel.
Great.
We love to just get started with these conversations just in a very casual, informal way and get to know you. So, okay, we're going to start with what's one word your friends would use to describe you, Rachel?
The first word was crazy. I would say fast. I'm fast with everything,
I
fast.
can already tell that just from our prep for this call. So yeah, I second that. Okay, you live in Toronto. What is your favorite thing about living there?
Oh, I love the people, but food. Food is probably first.
Yes, I think Vancouver is like trying to make like trying to do some competing and getting Michelin star restaurants, but like Toronto reigns supreme, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, this one's getting to the core of you. What is your number one core value?
I was thinking about this on a call. Sorry, I know you said rapid fire. Um, Helping people. I love to help. I get so much joy from it.
Okay, good. You're in the right line of business then, I think, with Monday Girl. Okay, what is your, if you have one, what's a guilty pleasure of yours?
Oh my gosh, no, wait, Michelle, can I go back on my last? I'm
Oh
gonna
yeah.
reiterate last. Okay. I I'm changing.
Rewind, edit out, just kidding.
We're editing this. Okay, but I would say helping people see the best potential in themselves. Like I am everyone's hype girl. I could talk everybody's ear off by the person next to me, being like, oh my gosh, like this is I just love seeing like the special spark in other people. I love helping people see that. So that's my thing. So we'll go back to the next the
I
next
love
rapid
that
fire
so much.
question.
I don't know how we're going to follow that with your guilty pleasure, so please share.
Oh, guilty pleasure. Um, I have like for some reason people find this very unexpected, but I love like deep hard techno. I don't know if you call that like a dirty or guilty pleasure, but I love it. I'll start the morning sometimes with it, and my co-founder will just lose it. So
Okay, you get along with my husband, and that's hilarious. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna picture the next time he puts on a song like that, I'm just gonna
she's
picture you like
she's
rocking out.
putting on Bonnie Iver. I'm putting on like deep
Yeah.
bass. So
Okay, take us home here with your proudest career moment to date.
it's easy to say, I promise rapid fire. It's easy to say it's like those big flashy moments where like you do a campaign or a conference, but it's when people come up to me and they're like, this is how Monday Girls helped me. I remember one girl telling me, I didn't think I could ever leave this toxic job, but joining Monday Girls exactly the push that I needed. And I know I've been there. So absolutely, that's probably one of my favorite moments.
Oh my gosh, love that. Well, thank you. You really you being fast is very true. You did it. You helped us get through these rapid fire questions actually quickly. So good job. Krista, you're over to you.
Yeah, I think we have some we definitely have some Monday Girl members and some who are familiar on this call. And I think we have some friends that are very new to Monday Girl and would love to learn a little bit more about what you are creating. And so my first question, Rachel, is what was the gap that you and your co-founder saw in the professional landscape that led you to start Monday Girl?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it tracks further back, and it tracks further back to when I was very much probably when I was like 8 to 9 years old. And I was a first generation immigrant. Like many others, I was told forever that like putting your head down, letting your work speak for itself, like moving in silence was like the most honorable approach to working and, creating success for yourself. And my parents were actually founders themselves. So that was really interesting because they like worked really, really hard, they grinded. 2008 came around and it really knocked their business out and they ended up having to go back into the job market. And I saw them go from job interview to job interview, just like day after day, just like looking more and more tired and exhausted, realizing that they really didn't have the connections they needed to get the support that they had. And that's kind of like when like things flipped around in my head and I was like, oh my gosh, like access is so important. And I saw it firsthand with my parents. Um, this is when I actually got to meet my co-founder, was in school. I didn't really get to like chat or become her friend, even though she was so cool. I kind of like admired her from before because, like in first year when they put you into like all those like Facebook groups, I'm like a millennial. So like it's like, hi, welcome. And like she was one of those people, she was like, I'm actually a YouTuber. And this is 2016. So for her, no, this is even further back. This is 2012. 2012, she was like, I'm a YouTuber, which I think is insane. And I just remember thinking, like, whoever this girl is, I don't even know what she's posting on YouTube. She's so cool. Like, she's putting herself out there. I connected with her. I think it was only after university that we actually got to connect because I was just like so curious. I'm like, I have to take you out for coffee. I need to understand like what you're doing because that's so awesome. And the very first chat that we both had, I was ranting because I just was, I think 2 years into my job at Uber and I loved it. I thought it was so cool. I saw all the opportunities, but I just remember vividly thinking to myself, like, if I go to one more tech networking conference where there's like a million dudes in Patagonia vests and I do not feel seen, or it's the same people over and over again, same dudes in Patagonia vests, I'm going to lose it. And I was like, I don't know why people tell me to network or find a mentor because there's nobody that looks like me in these spaces. Like these spaces are not designed for myself in mind or woman in mind. And she was like, Rachel, you'd be shocked because in the creative world, if she's trying to get clients because she's starting her videography business, she was like, no, 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 I feel the same way. Like it just feels so bleak. Like we're going to these networking events. She's an introvert. She's going to 2 to 3 a week because she wasn't actually from Toronto. She's trying to, get her foot in the door. And it just felt like this like exhausting kind of like performance that she's putting on. And we were like, okay, networking has to feel more fun than this. There must be a way to meet other like-minded women. So, fast forward to today, we've actually grown the platform and network to over 350,000 women across the US and Canada.
Mm.
We hosted over 2,000 events. We've created a digital platform and app, which we did before vibe coding was cool and a real thing. We vibe coded the whole thing. Now it's a real platform. But if you're a member, you get access to this dashboard where you can actually book one-on-one time and office hours with incredible mentors that we wish we had access to. Of course, in-person events, Krista kind of mentioned some of the in-person events that we do at ANCO in Vancouver. So across all of our satellite markets, New York, we just did a really, really fun one about next gen women. But really all it was we felt so tired of being siloed. We were tired of like women in creative, women in tech, and like those things are really important. We still obviously sometimes sort people in that way with their meetups. But there's something so powerful about just being around like-minded women that, really want to see you win and grow. So that's hopefully Monday Girl in a nutshell.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I love the sort of dual origin story of like your experience with your parents and watching them struggle in their own ways, and then also meeting your co-founder and just knowing like I need to work with this person. Sometimes you just know, right? I don't know if anyone else feels that way. You get that like everything feels easy and it just flows. So I'm so happy that you found that in your co-founder. Okay, my question for you, Rachel, is so how would you, so there's lots of ways to define community, obviously, but how do you define community and how do you know that you've done it successfully?
Yeah, I think like all community leaders, we're always reiterating and trying to figure out like, is this success? Is this what it should look like? It's definitely much more of a feeling. It's something that you can like feel like so physically when you walk out of an event, even webinars. We hosted like a really fun workshop with our members yesterday. I felt that spark. But it's kind of going back to that feeling that you get, the spark that you get when you talk to someone about something that you're really, really interested in, right? Like you're passionate, you're lighting up, the other person is lighting up because of your energy, or they connect with that. It's kind of like if you encapsulate that into a bottle, like that to me is truly what community is. Like other people around you are also feeling that same sort of energy. But I would say like it's interesting because I don't think I necessarily pursued community from that lens, or like that sort of like broader term of community. I wish I did. I kind of went into it naively because I'm like, instead of creating community, I just wanted a space where I felt seen. I wanted to go somewhere and like look at the table. I mean, like I feel comfortable to sit down. I'm not gonna like feel like I have to go into this like corner or like walk back out. So that's kind of like where we really thought of building Monday Girl towards. But now today we're like, okay, absolutely. Like community is everything. I think it changes. I think as a landscape and the world changes, we'll also have to change. COVID was crazy. That's when we first launched the platform. So I will say like it's so fun to be around other people that love to host and gather and group people together. I think ultimately it is connecting people. I think that's truly like what it comes down to.
Mm.
I love it. I'm nodding so hard right now because we've asked this question quite a few times, or just talked about like what defines community, and something that comes up time and time again is just a sense of belonging. And so when you're talking about like why you created Monday Girl, it's like so that you feel and others feel that sense of belonging. It's so great.
So great. Okay, so tell us what has been the most effective strategy for growing community in a non-transactional, like in a really authentic and non-transactional way?
Yeah, this is where we go back to the accidental dip into the world of community. I think in hindsight, everything worked out great. Everything actually worked out probably the best way possible. Now that I've been in like, like operations roles, and like I grew up, I kind of like walked up the ladder of Uber and understanding like how startups think about these things. We were kind of doing some of these like business stages or business plans while we were iterating and like figuring out the next move. So to kind of give everyone like this quick picture of what it looked like was when me and Isiana first met, we were like, let's host a few events. Let's just see if anybody like wants to go to these things. Immediately, people were like, I'm in, I'm in. It was really low key. We were not event planners. Like, I don't think we even thought about like the idea of flow was like, like we out the door. Like we didn't know what that was. But it's so interesting because we saw like how people really lit up in the room, and we saw the conversations that were happening. We also saw the tangible results. This is actually probably the second event that we ever did. We realized that after the event, because people had messaged us, they were like, that was insane. That was amazing. I actually ended up with a job offer on the spot from this one event. And I thought it was going to be the one-off thing. It turns out two other girls, and again, these are different people. These are different people in different spaces. They ended up leaving with different job opportunities too. I think one person also found their co-founder. So we saw kind of like that power and the tangible results from that. So if you will, putting on like the business cap and like, the startup jargon, we're validating the product, right? We're validating the need and the problem solution, da da da. But what we ended up realizing was that once we had these events and we're like, okay, proof of concept, we ended up starting this Facebook group. Yes, like very 2016. We ended up starting the Facebook group, and I think it grew over to 5,000, 8,000 people. Like for those of you who like remember, like it was kind of crazy, and things were popping in there. Like people were like posting like, 4 or 5 times a day. They're sharing wins, they're sharing like crazy stories, and like people were validating that, not necessarily always giving solutions, but just more so being like, I hear you, you're completely not, like I'm sorry the person's gaslighting in that situation, which is sometimes what we all need to hear. But I would say we were able to just kind of like throughout the process and lens of just like, okay, we're slowly growing the community in the following. We were then able to pivot into just something like a bit more structured and a bit larger by testing different things out. So if you really will, everything was a series of like A/B testing and experiments by mistake. I wish it was like super tracked and everything. Now we track everything because we have to. But it's so funny, and I feel like when I talk to other community leaders, a lot of people are like, yeah, like I also fell into it by accident. And it really truly came from this place of like, if no one else is going to build this, at least I have it for myself. So
Hmm. I love that. And of course, you teed us up perfectly for our next question.
Yeah,
There's,
well, hopefully everyone's wondering because we all love hearing about like it's very inspiring to hear how naturally you came into your success. And we also want to hear about the challenges along the way that you faced, right? So is there anything that you tried in those days of A/B testing or, along any part of your journey that didn't lead to the results that you wanted, the growth results that you were looking for?
Hmm.
That's a fantastic question. Definitely more so now versus like when we first started. Like we had like the naive, like we're doing this as a side hustle and we're doing it as our passion projects. So I'll be honest, probably anyone that went to our early events are like, what is happening? But I will be honest, I've walked into other events in Silicon Valley and they're also just equally as disorganized and they think it's awesome. So I don't know, like there's two sides of the coin there. But I would say that right now, like as we're testing different things out, like it has to just like always like I don't know if there's like a right or is this a bad thing to say? Like I don't know if there's a right or wrong when it comes to community because like one thing that might be like amazing and so viscerally important to one person in the community, it might just not hit the same way for other people. But you have to make sure that those people who came along with you for the journey, they're OG members, they really believe in your cause, like you have to be curating around that too. So
Hmm.
I don't necessarily think the same way that we can measure like business or strategy or growth in this like very like traditional like framework sort of way. Can we measure the results of these sort of things? Like I'll be honest, like sometimes we'll get like 1-star reviews from our events, and that's because like they wish they had a cup for like the drink that we had, but we didn't want to use cups because they're not sustainable, right? So like there's little things that I'm sure anyone that's hosted events before will resonate with, but it's like, look, that's just not our values. And we have like clear, guidelines for what that is. So is there a right or wrong? I think the best person to tell you that is absolutely probably just like yourself. Which is hard sometimes because I know we all want to listen to customer feedback, but also just like really just gauging the energy and sentiment of the room. So I think that's also another skill that you have to learn. It doesn't come naturally. You'll have to also like tap into other parts of it. And it's gonna be like the fly in the wall too.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Hmm.
hopefully your business partner had some experience with this just from being on YouTube, right? I can only imagine the content that she would put out is resonates deeply with some and then like pisses other people off. I don't know.
It's like, is it a flop or was it like the right thing for the next thing, right? So
Yeah.
again, maybe that's the optimist in me, but I
No, I
will
love
say
that. I
that.
love that so much. I think we
Yeah.
should all like carry that forward into the next things that we do.
Yeah.
I was just going to add a point on that. I feel like I've been doing quite a bit in analyzing some like feedback and things we've been getting. And that's one of my favorite uses for AI, because I think that if you're reading the feedback, you can kind of um, put more emphasis on like either the bad or the things you want to see. But I think that if you can throw it into AI, it's got a more objective view, and you can ask for it to just like pull out different kind of insights. And so it kind of will just pull out themes.
I
And
love
then
that.
maybe that's something you can address either in your next summit or online or in your responses.
That's
Yeah.
really cool,
I
Amanda.
love that.
Thank you for
I
that.
actually
Also, I just picture AI saying like, You're that was such an insightful question you just asked me. Just
Yeah, yeah. But also one thing, and Amanda, I actually do that. I'm so glad you brought that up because I actually do that like religiously. And I encourage my team to is like check for blind spots. Like that's a specific prompt that I use. I'm like, check me for blind spots. Like as I'm going through the data, is there anything that based upon everything you know about me that I might be missing? So I love that you brought that up. That's awesome.
Hmm. Mhm.
I think that's you, Krista. Am I wrong?
No, it is. And I had just
Okay.
a very temporary loss of audio for a second. So I missed how Rachel tied that with a bow, but I'll trust We're ready to move on. We're curious about what it looks like, and you've already started to touch on this, and it might be interesting to hear a little bit more, but what does it look like to really cultivate belonging and community digitally in an online world? And it sounds like Facebook circa 2016, good old Facebook groups was maybe an early foray into building online community, but what does that look like today?
Yeah, I love this question because the first thing a lot of our speakers or sponsors will say when they walk into a room for our events or even like a webinar, the first thing they'll say is like, wow, this is like you've done an incredible job because it is what we thought it was. It is truly as diverse. It truly is as people are as engaged. People are as, supportive and happy and kind as like you would say Monday Girl is and what the brand stands for. And I think that's like to any person that runs a business, like that's like the highest of all compliments, right? Like to stand behind your product and a brand and making sure that reflects in real life. I would say that that takes time. That takes a lot of curation. It also takes a lot of thought every single time you're posting or sharing anything. I would say for me, we've been very, very thoughtful about like, hey, like if we're showing up online and we really say that we need a diverse group of women, like how to be ensure that like that's actually being portrayed and like what we're putting out there. So like with everything, we're really thoughtful of that. We're thinking about different perspectives. But one thing that's probably the best stat that we've ever had and one that we're so proud of to this day, more than 60% of Monday Girl members are BIPOC, right? And we created this space from, again, as I mentioned, a very deeply personal space for myself. A lot of these women are, in cultures or families where like networking was seen as like this like really evil or negative thing to be doing. And for us to be able to flip that script is so powerful.
God, it's so powerful and so needed. And I hear this, oh, we hear this over and over from founders is this message of like, I created what I so deeply craved for myself. And turns out there's, 300,000 other women having a similar experience to you. Like I have full body goosebumps. Like, thank you for creating what you needed so that you could share this with so many other women. It's it's incredibly inspiring, Rachel.
I agree. Krista, I don't think you knew how well you just teed me up for my next question, but by saying that you have goosebumps, I will share it for those who haven't heard. Krista's favorite KPI is goosebumps. Um, and potentially hard nipples as well. But let's
On
go.
the extreme level, but
But right, like walking away from an experience or even just within the experience feeling goosebumps. We wish we could report on that on a dashboard. But Rachel, so actually before you answer, before I even ask you a question, what's your funding structure? Are you totally bootstrapped or do you have investors at this point?
Hell yeah, we're totally bootstrapped
You just
and
take a second.
profitable.
That's
So
so cool.
it's been a journey and it's so funny because coming from the world of tech, I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. Like it's so bad that I'm fully bootstrapped. And now on the flip side, now in this day and age, now everyone's like, wow, thank goodness. And I'm like, absolutely. So
Yeah, well, okay, so then you're accountable very like much so to yourselves, obviously, as you grow and your own growth targets. But
yeah.
can you talk to us a little bit about what you measure? You said you really look at the data, and you are building community, right? Like that is really your business model at this point. What are some of the key KPIs that you look at? How do you measure return on investment for your strategies? We'd love to get in the nitty-gritty of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So of course, we have all the KPIs on a tracker. One thing that we're religious about, and this actually came from my time at Uber, was no matter the number of dashboards that we had, it was actually really crucial that everyone had to manually fill it in their own dashboard and tracker. Because there's
Mm.
something so different about owning your KPI and just being like, okay, this is how it fluctuated week over week. So we're like religious about this. Every single person on the team, they'll have a set of 5 KPIs that they're really responsible for. They'll have one that they like truly like that's their North Star KPI, but everyone has to manually go to the dashboards, but then also like type it out physically. And then we share it like week over week, of course, and we can kind of see the dips and fluctuations. But I would say that like there's something so important, especially in this day and age of AI, where it feels like everything is so easy. When you're actually owning it, it feels so different. So each person in the team has like a different KPI. Mine is very much growth. So I'm thinking about, for example, like US member like sentiment, US member growth. We've been able to actually just like have a really strong launch in the US as of last year, and that's become like our like biggest markets now. So that's my North Star. My co-founder, on the other hand, she's very much in social, right? So she's the one that's tracking like newsletter growth. Like we, for example, decided that like newsletter growth was more important for us than just like Instagram growth because of course you get to own all the people that are within your newsletter subscriber list. So that's been very important. So it's a lot of like making the key trade-offs to think about like what your personal or what your team members North Star is, and also how it ladders all into like the biggest one for us. Like this was a year of growth, but also profitability. So like everything had to like make sense with that. Like you couldn't be obsessive or like talking about like the single little metric because like it looked really great on paper, but it didn't tee up into like growth and profitability, right? So I think that's been really, really great for us. We have a very lean team. Again, it's like the perks and also like the beauty of being bootstrapped is like to your point, Michelle, like you have full autonomy. You can track and also like push for like the hard metrics that you really, really care about, versus like, you know, having different opinions, if you will, or having like extreme growth targets. Like for us, like this was a year of also just like stabilizing versus like hard growth. So like that was really important for us was to like think about like the curation piece and think about like how do we stabilize and make this like a reoccurring business versus just like, you know, like 200%, 2x every single year. Like I think that's been like a very glorified thing, especially with people in the VC landscape. Like we don't have to hit those metrics, so it's been helpful for us. I would say the last part too is like just really making sure that everyone also like is a part of the full like KPI resetting process. So like we reset our KPIs every single quarter. It sounds like a lot, but it's not because like as you all know, businesses are like changing all the time. So we always reset it. Some persons like some people like my account manager, like hers stays the same. Like there isn't like any hard movement on her KPIs. But like for me, it's good, definitely going to change because we notice certain things and we can course correct. So it's a flexibility of just not feeling like you're married to like specific metrics because each season, each quarter is gonna be so different, depending on like what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm so glad you bring this up because this is like a watch out that I have around measuring ROI and reporting and KPIs is that I think like oftentimes brands or some of the clients that I work with, they're focused on they know the importance of measuring metrics and KPIs, but sometimes skip the step of defining at the outset, whether that's the start of the year or the start of the quarter, what the behavior is that you're trying to drive or what the desired goal or outcome is that you're trying to create. And so I think you've just really underscored for us that you need to know what you're trying to accomplish in order to know what the KPIs and targets are that make sense to track to measure progress and success. So thanks for that.
Of course. And the last thing I'll say about this, because obviously I get very excited about all things data, but like I will be honest, like I was never a data girly. Like I was never the person, like I was horrible at math growing up. Like I just, it wasn't my thing. But I will say like there's something about getting your team so excited about like the discovery and findings of it and empowering them to like really own it and make it fun. Like making it sexy, making it feel like when one person or team pulls up a chart and they're like, here's my findings, like we like woo, right? Like it's so fun and so exciting. We celebrate that. So there's something to be said about just like, you know, doing what makes sense for your business, but also celebrating, like empowering your team, really owning those results. Like that's going to be something that will carry your business so much more forward. And to Amanda's point is like your blind spots, right? Like my team sees different things or different sides of the business that I won't. So when I empower them, even someone very junior and like maybe they're not necessarily tied to like, you know, like certain cost centers, like that's okay. Giving her the autonomy to like feel like she can share something is so valuable.
It's
Yeah.
revolutionary. It's
Yeah,
like
totally.
shifting the narrative around reporting and KPIs and like bringing some level of light and levity to it when it's something that can feel so intimidating, especially as, you know, you're earlier in your career. It's huge.
Exactly. And like the last thing is like for example, even like XY axes, like I always tell my team, I'm like, make it something hilarious, like make it something fun. Like reporting can be so boring. It's like you have to just like make it something fun, especially if it's internal facing. Like it's totally okay. As long as you remember what it is when you look back and you're like, what was that? So
I love it. I can't help but ask you this. I want to go one layer deeper and just ask, was there what worked for you in overcoming that like I don't know if resistance is the right word, but you are, you've shared reporting and data and analytics was a gap for you. What
yeah.
actions did you take or mentorship did you receive? Like what shifted that for you?
I'm gonna have a bit more of an untraditional response to this because I will say that I took like the unglamorous and probably like less sexy version of entrepreneurship than most people had. Like my co-founder, her path is like the glamorous and cool and not glamorous because entrepreneurship is not glamorous. We all know this. Like we're the ones like heaving all the heavy boxes, doing everything possible under the sun. But my co-founder was, a founder by trade. She never had a 9 to 5. She was, a creator from the very beginning. She still is one now today. But for me, I got sucked into, and I was very excited to be sucked into this world of 9 to 5 of, being in a startup. And I will be very honest, so many of those skills I learned from the ground of like being at this 9 to 5 job where they taught me this. And I was surrounded by really, really, really smart people that were probably actually responsible for making sure that I was hitting my targets, but also B, people that like really were so good at what they did. And I was able to learn all these things. And I'll be totally honest, I don't think I would have been able to have like sought out that myself, if I was in a different position. So when I'm talking to a lot of people who are like, okay, look, I want to start a business one day. Do I just go full, just whammy into it? I'm like, yes, absolutely. That's my co-founder did. And it worked out perfectly for her. But for me, I would say there is, especially in this time where fundraising is really, really hard. It's a different landscape now. I would say that like for us, me having the 9 to 5, having a salary is actually what like, bootstrapped us and helped us like get that runway to the point where we can make like more flexible and smart decisions without worrying about my salary, my co-founder's salary. The second thing that I also thought about too was I was able to make these like smaller or sillier mistakes and all this learning under somebody else's salary or paycheck versus mine. So that was really great. So I would say, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, like if you're like, look, I don't know if I should go full time into this, and I'm like still thinking about the idea, if you're still in that stage, like don't be afraid to go for a job where you can actually help your blind spots. Don't be afraid to like go for that more difficult position or get that mentorship now versus later. That's been really helpful because like it's totally compounded. And there's nothing wrong. Right? There's nothing wrong with side hustling until you make it. Like I would say, that's become like a really useful strategy for myself personally. I know not for everyone. And again, that's kind of like why I'm like prefacing this is the unsexy version of, really getting my business up and running.
Yeah, but you know what's sexy is like taking advantage of like the opportunity you had within the corporate world, right? You leveraged it to your advantage in a really cool way because it can take a while to get to that point where you realize like I need to get as much out of this as this company is getting out of me, right?
Yeah.
So kudos to
Well,
you
the
for
last
that,
thing I'll say
Rachel.
too for the founders on the call who are like, okay, like no longer in that phase of my life, and I would say congratulations, absolutely. There is just so much merit in just like going for it and just been like, I'm gonna learn this thing. Because you can't outsource strategy. There's so many things you can outsource. Everyone's like, outsource your weaknesses, da da da. Absolutely. But if you don't know your numbers, like you won't have a strong sense of strategy. So invest in those things. Take the courses. My co-founder took a course in meta ads. It completely changed the trajectory of our career, of our like business today. Because now even when we have to outsource it, we'll know what good looks like, right? So that's something I'd say too.
Love. Okay, we have one more question for you, Rachel, and then we're going to open it up to hear from this incredible crew that has set time aside to hang with us today. We want to know who else, like what other brands or businesses are doing community well from your point of view, and or like where do you get inspiration from?
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many brands. There's so many that I want to say. I know I saw Allie on the call. Jaybird is absolutely crushing it. I feel like every single time I take a class, I'm like, oh my gosh, like they've nailed the whole experience, the feeling, making it feel so special. Like I love that, that practice that they really enforce and like the experience. So bravo. But I also say there's so many. I think this is a moment. I'm not sure if everybody in the call is Canadian. If for those of us who are like, this is a time where Canadian brands are absolutely crushing it on like more of this like international or national landscape with like other ship launching into New York and people are blown away and they're like, oh my gosh, like they've nailed it, right? So I will say there's so much coming out of Canada that I'm so excited about. The other thing too that's so important for Monday Girl is we try so hard to learn from people that are in adjacent industries, just like completely different worlds. Like I will tell you, we have a member who's in construction, and I'm constantly like every time I see her, I'm like, tell me what's going on. Like, tell me what you guys do, right? It's so helpful because these are different industries that again will help you see different things and they figured things out in their own way. But yeah, we take a lot of reference from food brands, CPG brands. We love how they kind of do things or go about it. We take a lot of inspiration also from like fashion and beauty and like what's going on in that landscape. So I think a lot of it's just like constantly being inspired by things outside of your own world because that's what's really going to pull you outside of your own comfort zone. It's what's going to help you like gain that broader perspective and see your business better for what it is.
Mhm. Love so
Brilliant.
many great call outs there. Thanks, Rachel. Shall we
Thanks
open
for
it up?
links, Krista, if anyone's interested in those call outs. Yeah, let's do it. Let's open it up.
What's on your minds?
Who has a question or a comment for Rachel? You're welcome to hop yourself off mute or pop it in the chat if you're more comfortable that way, and we can read it out.
Yeah, and questions, absolutely. But also, like, do you have a different point of view on something that we've talked about, or do you want to offer, a different perspective? All is welcome.
Don't be shy, my friends.
It's the longest periods of silence where the greatest growth occurs. So I'm not nervous. I'm not worried here. Someone's got something. I
And
know
I
it.
also say that I love seeing so many faces on camera. Like this is so lovely. Like what a beautiful, like energetic group. This is so fun. Thank you so much, Krista and Michelle, for having me.
You bet. Janine, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hi guys, thank you so much, Rachel. This has been amazing. Thanks for setting this up, everyone. My name is Janine Botway Brown. I'm currently a tech lawyer, and I am trying to build a community for law students. I think that I went to Fordham Law for undergrad in New York. I did a lot of in-house internships and kind of went the non-traditional route of going to NBC Universal and other media companies opposed to being at a firm for very long. And I feel like those opportunities are honestly just not publicized well. I think that like LinkedIn honestly doesn't do a great job of like publishing job opportunities for law students. And I'm just trying to create community because I have law students regularly sending me messages or asking when I speak at conferences, like, how did you do this? And I guess my question is, I'm trying to figure out, and sorry, I was on a call, so I missed some of the conversation, Rachel, but when you shifted to changing your demographic or like to exploring the demographic here in America specifically, I live in Atlanta now. Like, what do you think are like some of the target like activities or like milestone things that you could do like to just cultivate like community for students, specifically professional students or law students?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting and fun group because a lot of them will probably come from different walks of life or different stages. Because I'm assuming not everyone that's entering into law school would be at a certain specific age point. A lot of them might be pivoting or thinking about or starting at a different age. So I would say there's my best approach to just figuring out demographics is, I'm sorry, all these opinions are mine and just like very personally based. I would skip the market research. Sorry, I know that sounds so bad. And anyone that used to work with me, don't listen to it. But skip the market research, go straight to the law students and be like, would you attend this? Like, would you come to this? And then see who you get. Like, I would just send out like emails to all like the student associations. I mean, you speak at all these conferences, you get invited. I'm sure you probably have a pretty good sense of who's already there. Just go directly to them, right? And then kind of be able to like niche down afterwards. You might find that there's more segments, and you might find there's a specific segment within that, but you won't really know until you actually get like face in front of them. And you won't know until you're kind of the one on this side of the, the camera, and you're like Q&Aing with them. For example, like I will say with Monday Girl, the first couple of events that we had, they were amazing for just really testing out who would have the most appetite for a membership like this, because we saw that it was women who were similar to me, had a very similar shared experience. They didn't love the idea of networking. They didn't love that, in their current job or environment, they didn't have like spaces like this, right? So those were more the women that we go to. And that's like more story based versus like specific like demographic or industry based, which is why we decided to make it industry agnostic, right? So those are the key learnings that you'll only be able to know like once you get in front of them. And also the best part is then you can start to like pitch them, like join my newsletter group, join, here's my, even start off with like maybe a LinkedIn group, right? Like those are things that like you could still like use to then funnel into something later on.
I love that. And
Thanks,
then
Rachel. That was great.
Janine, you should start something like something that's an I don't know, the alternative to LinkedIn for how to like bring those opportunities more to light, because it sounds like you've found your way through this really beautiful non-traditional path, and more people should, have access to that. I love it. It looks like we had Marie wanted to hear Rachel. Just can you share a little bit more about your growth ambitions in the US market?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to take over the world. So we are in New York, San Francisco, Chicago. We've hosted some pretty large scale conferences there. We've noticed that New York is just like from a population and also just demographic, it's really similar to what we've seen in Toronto. So taking just like a really focused approach. So we're trying to hit New York and go really, really hard there. Obviously slowly growing in other markets and keeping them really active as well. Like that's been really helpful. But we do hope once we stabilize, again, I kind of mentioned this, like this was our year of stabilizing. Next year is going to be another growth year. So leaning more into that, we might open some more chapters. We're thinking Atlanta. So Janine, I think you mentioned that you're based there. So there, Austin, a few other markets too. So yeah.
So exciting. I can just hear the energy you have for this like growth path that's ahead. Sam, I think you were off mute earlier. You want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Um, it's not so much a question as a comment, and I don't know, Rachel, no one's paying me to say this, but something I learned being in Monday Girl since I don't know when was how so many different people can gather around a table, just like say 9 people out here in Calgary, and every one of us works in a completely different industry. Someone used to be a nurse and just got their MBA. Someone works at Arc'teryx. I work at the Canadian Marketing Association. And some people are quiet, some people are not, but it's up to every member of the community to make it a community. So if someone is a bit more shy, go over to that end of the table and learn about the cool things that they're doing. If someone's not like participating as much, bring them in, ask them questions to bring them in. And I think that's just something that happens so seamlessly in Monday Girl that it's just something I recommend to everyone. But once again, Rachel's not paying me to say this. She doesn't even know me.
But she knows that the Calgary market is in great hands with you in the mix, Sam.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, it just made my day. And Sam, I don't know if that's a Monday Girl sweater, but I do know it's a Monday Girl color. So
Yes, you're very, very on brand at the moment.
I think it's Marjorie, and I could be wrong. So sorry. Rituals. Tell us your
French name.
Ah,
So I'm from French Canada. So I grew up in a small town near Montreal. So it's Marjolaine. But I live on a Greek island now. So I'm a solo Canadian abroad. I have a question for community engagement online and perhaps more changing a dynamic. I find that whenever I'm trying to build a community, there's a very kind of student-teacher dynamic from where people ask me a question and I respond, and I don't know how to create a feeling of co-creation that goes beyond just mentorship or coaching, which is what I do for the last 8 years. And I just always default to coaching the group. And I don't know how to move towards building more of a movement or community that's having its own fuel. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Can I just say that that's like a beautiful thing as well? Like, that's also just such a testament to how much your impact and your guidance has had on your community. Like, that's, I would absolutely say that's like a huge positive. That's a huge testament. So like, bravo, congrats. Like, that's not easy. I would say the other thing that we've started to do is like, you can start to lean on other people, and you can start to do this like in a very, I know everyone's like really obsessed with everything feeling organic. Everyone's like, things need to be natural. Things need to happen like themselves. It's okay if we artificially create some of these connections. Like, that's fine. There's different ways to do this. There's a few ways that I've done this with Monday Girl. So happy to share like a few different tactics. The first one would be just to be like, as you're commenting, as you're like responding, tagging in somebody else or a few other people, like tagging 2, 3 other people that might also have something to share. You can give your advice. Then you can be like, great, also tagging in like 2, 3, would love to hear your insights too. So that we can kind of like generate that like comment, that thread, and then people start to get like, feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm like being asked to do this too. So like, that's a really fun thing to do. It's like inviting that person into like what Sam said, right? If people are feeling more quiet, like you can kind of like bring them into the conversation, which is really fun. The second thing is it's okay to also just start to like do threads where it's like, hey, like, how do you guys approach X, right? Or how do you approach like, whatever it is that might be a fit for your community, and then getting people to kind of like start the motion of like commenting. It's again a practice, right? Like if people start to feel like the ritual of doing it, then they'll start to like feel more engaged. The last piece too is it's also cool if you wanted to create ambassadors in the group. You can nominate them. These might be people that you know are really great, and these are just like kind of like the energy starters or conversation starters in the group. They're like the Sams, if you will. Like they'll show up and they'll bring a good time. Like you can actually ask them to start to like, introduce themselves. I mean, like, I'm the one starting the conversation this week, right? So those are kind of different things that we've done with Monday Girl.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Love that we have a presence from Greece. We're so international and worldly, our community. So glad you're here. We have time for one more question or comment or insight. Priya, it's you.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, Krista. How are you doing?
Great to see you.
You too. Thank you so much, Michelle, Krista, and Rachel. This has been fascinating. Um, Rachel, I kind of wanted to, the question I had was around when you first kind of conceptualized Monday Girl, what did you have in your mind that has changed and pivoted into what its current iteration is? Is there anything that you've kind of been that you had your heart set on that you were like, actually, no, that in reality that doesn't work, and this is what we're gonna have to do instead? It'd be really interesting to see kind of those kind of pivots that's happened.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so many. I would say it's a little ironic, but I almost killed the business by accident. Like I almost actually destroyed it because my co-founder, this is during COVID, we couldn't host any more in-person events. She was like, I have this really interesting idea of creating this digital community. I think this is a way we can make Monday Girl move forward, because we were actually thinking about shutting it down because we're like, what can we do now? Like, is it just in person? Da da da. So she's like, let me do this. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I like this. I don't know. And she ended up vibe coding this. This is prior to vibe coding being a thing. So it was very manual at the time. And she ended up putting together a really cool MVP of a product that became the Monday Girl membership. And she kind of reverse engineered all the little things that we did throughout the process. So like we've done a few different accelerator things. We did a few mentorship matching things. So she kind of like took and pulled from those things. And she showed it to me and I was like, I don't really know still. And she's like, why don't we just like put it out there? We put it out there. We priced it at a really arbitrary price. I'll talk about that afterwards. But it turns out that I think first day was 500 people signed up on the spot to become a Monday Girl member. And we were shocked. Like I was blown away because again, I wanted to kill the idea. I didn't really understand it. I definitely understood it afterwards, but I would say like throughout that process of just putting stuff out there and just being like, okay, people like really care about this, or like this is not feasible. Like for me, I was really obsessed about the idea of like one-on-one mentorship chats. just at scale, like that's just not possible. And also we found that with communities, it's actually really nice when you're with other people and you get to connect with them as well. So it's like peer mentorship, like peer connection, also with the mentor aspect. So the small group chats, like the office hours, which we pivoted into, like that's been really great now. So sometimes when you're seeking a solution, like don't always think of it as like, oh my God, like we had to revert back to this or we had to fall back to this. Like it could be actually the better alternative. And you'll only know from like, again, asking members and hearing what they think, but also just like seeing for yourself what actually sticks with them. So to answer your question, like in full, we've had to pivot a lot of different features, like the office hours is a key one, from one-on-one grouping to small group chats, but also just like from in person to being online. Like that was a whole different beast we had to navigate. And we ended up like, we're like, oh my gosh, now we have to like look at stats. Like now we have to look at online time. We're like, oh my gosh, like we had no idea. So that's been helpful for me to have a co-founder that pushed me, and like also she's a go-getter in the group. Like I'm the more conservative non-risk taker, so it's been helpful for me to have the balance.
What a great question, and so many great insights there. Good old Rachel being as quick as she is. We are right on time. It's so great to hear from you. I want to make a request of everyone on the call, and only if you're safe and comfortable. This is a request, not a, or it's a, yeah, it's optional is what I'm trying to say. But if
Request,
you're
not a demand.
Thank you. If you're in a position where you can turn on your camera for a quick sec, we want to see your beautiful faces and take a quick group photo, if you don't mind, via, I'm going to take a quick screenshot. If you're in a position to come on, please do. And then get ready, because I'm going to snap a shot in 3, 2, 1. Okay, great. Thank you so much. What do we want to say before we go, Mish? I'm going to pop up our last slide here with a quick plug. It is dun, 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 dun. So much for my mic drop moment here. We want you to save the date for our next Brand Together. So we do this every second Thursday of the month. So the next one coming up is November 13th. You can check out our events page via communityacademy.co. So we hope to see you again soon, and please spread the word if you found any value in joining us today. We'll make the replay live in case you'd like to share with your team or with your network. And from the bottom of our hearts, Rachel, thank you so much for showing up and sharing so generously your experience, and for creating something that this world and this community clearly needs so much. And we know that your time, all of our guests today, your time is super precious. So thank you for carving out some of it to be with us. We hope to see you next month.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Have a great day.